Hi and welcome. Today I am going to share the strategies I use on the Fields of Poland map. While I am moving to my first key position, I need to tell you a few things about this map. First, there are both winter and summer versions of this map. On the winter version, enemy tanks are easier to spot, but overall my strategy stays exactly the same on both versions. At the start of the battle, we move toward the capture point. If you are playing a slow tank, always watch the area near the windmill. Fast-wheeled vehicles often rush there, and the enemy will have a good line of sight on you. During the first phase of the battle, we hold this position. Our main job is to control the right flank and stop the enemy from flanking us. We also need to watch the hill on the left, near the lake. Some players like to take this high ground. Only after that we focus on the capture point. Basically, we want to gather information and pick the right moment to push forward. Of course, if many enemy vehicles reach the point, we stay here and stop them from advancing. Once we are 100% sure there are no enemies on the right, on the left, or at the capture point, we must move forward. Moving to the next position is the most dangerous part of the entire match for us, because apart from the trees and the hope that the enemy will simply not notice us, we have nothing else to rely on. If you have never played this part of the map, you can use the 3 buildings as a landmark. This will make it easier to understand where you need to go. Our goal is to hide in the ditch next to these buildings. This is our second key position. From here, we get an absolutely fantastic view of the enemy side of the map. Always watch the right flank. The right flank is our main threat. Also, keep an eye on the hill on the left. All the positions the enemy uses are quite hard for me to explain. That's why I want to leave a small clip of the video without commentary. This way you can get an idea of how players usually behave in this position. On the summer version of this map, we do exactly the same. We start near the hills by the capture point. We gather intel, then simply move forward and hide in the low ground. The ditch we use is basically a long trench that stretches almost all the way to the enemy spawn. You don't have to stay in one specific spot. You can move along this trench to get different angles on the enemy side of the map. I also want to point out one interesting feature of this map. When we get the version with 3 capture points, each sector on the minimap is 500 meters long and wide. But if we get the version with only 1 or 2 points, the map somehow becomes smaller. The length and width of each sector shrink to 450 meters. As a result, both teams' spawns end up in slightly different locations. And guess what? From this trench, we can basically spawn camp on the smaller version of the map. We can stop the enemy from leaving their own spawn entirely. We can spend the entire match in this trench, but if you get bored, we can move again and push forward, leaving the enemy with no chance to leave their own spawn. The person who designed this map added a few hills near the enemy spawn. The idea was to stop us from shooting across the entire map, but they forgot to make it so we would show up on the minimap if we reached those hills. As a result, the cover that was meant for the enemy becomes our cover instead. Guys, for slow tanks, the strategy doesn't change at all. We do exactly the same thing. But with Soviet tanks, there can be some problems. We don't always find a good angle to shoot. Honestly, there are situations where even good tanks have to do yoga and twist into pretty strange positions just to take a shot. I also sometimes use a position in Sector C2. It is especially useful for tanks with poor gun depression. Here you need to know just a few important things. In front of you there are several hills, but we should use the one closest to us as cover. If you stop near the second hill, enemies holding the positions on the hill near the lake will have a clear line of sight on you and will simply send you back to the hangar. The second thing to remember is that if our team loses the fight for the town in the center of the map, someone will definitely come at you from this direction, so do not forget to control it as well. As for the position itself, we have a very wide field of view, but in most cases our job is to intercept enemies moving toward the town and also keep an eye on Point A. You might get a kill and cover your teammates. As for the second phase, you have to improvise. When the enemies run out, move to one of the points. Although, to be honest, when I play this position, I try to quickly earn enough spawn points to take an aircraft and finish the match in the air. Before we continue, I just want to take a moment to thank you all for watching my channel. Your likes, your comments, and your support mean the world to me. Every time you leave a comment or hit that like button, it really helps the channel grow and motivates me to keep creating new guides for you. I'm truly grateful for every single one of you here, and I'm excited to keep making content for you. Thank you all so much for being part of this. And finally, a special thank you to the channel members who clicked the join button. Your support helps me put even more time and heart into these videos. Thank you so much. You really make a difference. On the opposite side, I mostly play the upper part of the map. Our key position is between sectors A5 and A6. At the very start, we do not rush forward and instead take a moment to read the situation on the map. There are no special tricks here. Just look for enemies hiding in the forest. If we see a lot of enemies, we stay in position and try to cover our teammates. If the enemy does not show up to fight for this point, always join your teammates and attack the point. If you get knocked out on the way, and congratulations, you can go back to the hangar and look for a better map. If you manage to survive after capturing the point, turn left and take this sneaky position. From here, we get a great view of the enemies moving toward the town and of the popular sniper spots. The task in this position is very simple: protect the point and try to deal damage to the enemy. Since many players hate this map, they often leave after their first death. So even a couple of kills is already a solid contribution to victory. Usually I stay here until the end of the match and simply guard the point. Most of the time we will die because we didn't notice an enemy on the right, so don't forget to watch that direction. To be honest, this position is pretty random. Sometimes you can take out half of the enemy team from here, and other times you might leave without a single kill. The thing is, there's a forest between us and the enemy spawn. Often enemies simply don't check this area. Sometimes they push onto the point without even realizing we are here, but occasionally a smart enemy will know about this position and catch you off guard. If you really don't feel like taking part in the fight on this map, you can try playing from a sniper position near the town. We need to move to the hill in sector D5. From here, we get a good view of the road the enemy uses to get into the town. We can also duel with enemy snipers across half the map. Another advantage of this position is that we can shell the exit from the enemy's upper spawn. This position is quite strong, but only until an enemy takes the hill near the lake. Once they do, they get a perfect line of sight on your position. I hope the information in this video will be useful for you. Thank you for watching. See you on the battlefield.